This is a story about a parallel universe where the super rich hide eye-watering amounts of money around the world.
We're talking about presidents, we're talking about prime ministers, we're talking about rock stars, we're talking about porn stars and people that have been convicted of crimes all over the world.
Let's take you back to our top story. The just released Pandora Papers, as they're being called, a collection of nearly 12 million files published by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Now, let's recap what I said earlier. It's exposing a lot of offshore deals concerning all kinds of world figures and leaders, among them the monarch of Jordan, close allies of Pakistan's Prime Minister and a former British Prime Minister. Let's get reaction out of Europe with Rory Challens in a moment. But first,
Pandora Papers es una de las filtraciones más grandes de la historia y revelan la riqueza oculta, elusión de impuestos y en algunos casos lavado de dinero por parte de algunas de las personas más ricas y poderosas del mundo. Mandatarios, expresidentes, políticos y celebridades han quedado salpicados por la publicación de la investigación. En este video te contamos más sobre los Pandora Papers y cómo involucran a presidentes y políticos de América Latina.
Gerardo, gracias por estar aquí. ¿Quiénes son los presidentes y expresidentes latinoamericanos involucrados en esto?
Sí, hay dos presidentes activos. Uno, el de Ecuador, Lasso, y el otro, el de República Dominicana, Luis Abinader. Pero también hay una serie de expresidentes como los de Colombia, Pastrana, Gaviria, el de Perú, Kuczynski, y también Cartes de Paraguay.
Perfecto. ¿Cómo sabemos si el dinero de ellos en estas sociedades es legal, si pagaron impuestos o es ilegal?
Es difícil, Jorge, y es ahí donde está el problema. Cuando entrevistamos a estas personas,
una de las mayores filtraciones de documentos financieros de la historia. Los Pandora Papers revelan cómo 35 líderes mundiales, 300 funcionarios públicos, congregaciones religiosas, artistas y multimillonarios operaron a través de offshores y fideicomisos en paraísos fiscales como Panamá, Dubái, Mónaco, las Islas Vírgenes Británicas o el estado de Dakota del Sur en Estados Unidos para no pagar impuestos, ocultar y blanquear dinero.
En este caso, aunque tener una jurisdicción offshore o en un paraíso fiscal técnicamente no es un delito, el alto
Comenzamos
nivel
en Ecuador, donde aumenta la presión política contra el presidente Guillermo Lasso luego de que lo comprometieran las revelaciones de los llamados papeles de Pandora. El Congreso de Ecuador votó este domingo a favor de una investigación para determinar si Lasso violó las leyes ecuatorianas al mantener patrimonio en paraísos fiscales. Según la informe investigación realizada por el Consorcio Internacional de Periodistas, el actual mandatario controló un entramado de 14 compañías offshores en Panamá y Estados Unidos, del que se deshizo de cara a su última candidatura presidencial. Lasso es, junto con el presidente chileno Sebastián Piñera y el dominicano Luis Abinader, uno de los 3 mandatarios latinoamericanos en activos implicados en el escándalo de los Pandora Papers. Y hay un político ecuatoriano que tiene especial interés en este escándalo que golpea al presidente Guillermo Lasso de Ecuador y exige incluso que el presidente renuncie. Se trata de su ex rival en la segunda vuelta, el ex candidato presidencial de Revolución Ciudadana, Andrés Arauz, que
Invertir en el bien común, no esconder la plata en los paraísos fiscales, invertir. La inversión es dar vida, es crear, es creativa. Saber invertir, no esconder. Uno esconde cuando no tiene la conciencia limpia. Cuando escondemos es porque algo está funcionando mal. Claridad, transparencia y producción, invertir.
who work through a global network of trusts and shell companies based in tax havens around the world.
Without checks, gatekeepers have carte blanche to provide offshore over the financial landscape. No questions to be asked, no accountability. Pay the fine and then
willing to turn who you do just like me, do it again. It's just like me, plan tomorrow. It's just like me to forget what it was. It's just like me to try to cross, drift at sea, empty vessel. I'm right back where I started.
The private fortunes of the rich, famous, and
I think they'd be furious about that.
In real terms, that means that your children or yourself might be going to buy a property, and when they're at auction, there could be a person there in a suit looking very, very sharp and legitimate, but they could be a proxy acting for a foreign kleptocrat or a politically exposed person.
Tonight on Four Corners, we investigate how politicians, criminals and the super wealthy move millions through a parallel economy open only to those who can afford it. And we reveal how an Australian accountant made a fortune helping high-risk clients keep their riches away from prying eyes. Our investigation begins in Singapore. This glittering island financial hub is an ideal place to set up complex business structures.
The corporate tax rate of 17% has always been traditionally much lower than other foreign jurisdictions. So that's attractive to companies that want to go set up business there and pay less tax. And of course, if you're going to go to the effort of setting up a headquarter in a country like Singapore, and you're a big multinational firm, and you're involved in profit-shifting activities and a whole range of other things that are certainly immoral and unethical, then what you're going to also demand from the Singapore government is layers of regulations to hide your identity and what you're doing. It's actually a recipe for setting themselves up for scandal.
For the last 40 years, Singapore has been home to a little-known business, run by an Australian accountant named Graham Briggs. He set up his company Asia City here in the 1980s. Today, it's a global business with clients on every continent.
It's one of the largest offshore service providers in the world. It's actually run by an Australian man. They have all sorts of legitimate clients, big banking, big banks, big accountancy firms. Asia City essentially sets up offshore companies for people who want privacy.
Asia City is part of a growing industry of professional wealth managers helping the super rich manage their cash.
Lawyers, accountants, investment advisors, so anyone who helps with the private equity, venture capital fund, real estate agents, all of them are gatekeepers. And when we use the term gatekeepers, it really is these are the individuals that are meant to guard the financial system because they have the expertise, they have the know-how to navigate the nitty-gritties of what is otherwise a very complex system to navigate.
What we've found when we've looked into it is that individual entities that are providing these services, for them in isolation, it's hugely profitable. So, there's the ongoing advice, there's the fees of setting up these structures, there's a trailing revenue model because you're continually managing these structures. So for those individual businesses that are active in this space, it's hugely profitable.
Asia City prides itself on trust and discretion, keeping the confidential information of its high-profile clients secret. Now, an anonymous source has leaked millions of internal documents from Asia City and 13 other offshore providers to media around the world through the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists.
It's interesting that we're seeing somebody who no one's ever heard of. You're talking about Graham Briggs, an accountant, somebody who's gone to Singapore, built a business, and now he's at the centre of what will be, I think, a political storm around the world.
Graham Briggs is a 75-year-old grandfather with a taste for the finer things in life. He owns a multi-million-dollar...